Hey guys, it's Captain Forest here, and today I'm guest appearing on Corin's channel again. Welcome folks. In today's video, I'll be going over both these combatants to see who would win, more often than not in an equal stats situation. Z Viper from Street Fighter versus Black Widow from Marvel Comics 616. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the meat and potatoes of things, but before I start, huge shout out to the HQ squad. They help me with my content also, so shout outs to them, shout outs to Corin, shout outs to everyone else. But yes, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of things. So for Z Viper, I will be including comics and game feats as well, so basically be a composite. I'm going to pretty much touch over her equipment. So Z Viper comes equipped with her electric gloves, which is one of her go-to weapons she takes with her on missions. She uses them quite creatively. She calls her strikes the Thunder Knuckle, where she builds up a charge of electricity and punches her opponents to electrocute them. She also uses the Temple Massage, where she wraps her legs around your neck and puts both fists in between your head and zaps you with electricity. She will also resort to ratty tactics with her gloves, such as hitting her opponents while they're off guard to stun them. And she also uses dirty tactic in combat too, just like when she grabbed Cammy's breasts and electrocuted them. She can also leap into the air and thunder knuckle her opponents with an uppercut. Another item that she brings to the table is her boots, which have flamethrowers installed, which she can shoot out when she performs a kick to burn her opponents. She is also equipped with jet boots, which she can use to fly around, leap to places, or just blitz towards her opponents. They also provide her with more mobility, which is very impressive. She also uses her seismic hammer to nuke the surrounding area and also push out a seismic wave, which launches her foes into the air, causing them damage. She has smoke bombs to affect her opponent's field of vision, as she can get in close and destroy her enemies this way. So that's going to wrap up Z Viper's gear. Let's move on to an impressive display of combat skills that Z Viper possesses. So Z Viper was able to go at it with Juri in a fight and skillfully tag Juri and send her flying with a Thunder Knuckle. This is impressive because Juri herself has learned all forms of Taekwondo and trained day and night endlessly to hone her fighting skills. Juri has also been able to defeat Chun-Li and embarrass Guile in combat, and this same Juri gets outcompeted against Z Viper. It's also noted in Z Viper's files that she's a capable martial artist herself, which would suggest she is skilled in her own right, and as she utilizes covert fighting tools. So that's going to round up Z Viper. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Black Widow and see what her Widow Bite has in store for this battle. Black Widow's bracelets are equipped with her Widow's Bite, which electrocutes her foes. Black Widow can adjust the settings of her Widow's Bite to lethal or non-lethal if she needs to just incapacitate an opponent, or if she wants to flat out kill her opponent, she can just amplify the potency of it. The Widow's Bite can also blind the target if they attempt to intercept it. The Widow's Bite at full power is stated to stop 10 men. The pain of getting hurt by the Widow's Bite will last over a month, so that's pretty much how nasty and potent the Widow's Bite is if you have been inflicted by it. The Widow's Bite can reach 30,000 volts, and the Widow's Bite can paralyze you. Black Widow can shoot out concussive blasts from her Widow's Bite. Getting hit by the Widow's Bite also causes your nerves to spaz out, so it affects your nerves too. The Widow's Bite can also stun you, and it's also noted in a guidebook that the range of the Widow's Bite can reach 6 meters. Black Widow can imbue her punches with the electricity from her Widow's Bite, and the Widow's Bite can disrupt and short-circuit tech, such as disrupting Winter Soldier's arm and short-circuiting Red Skull's power arm. Black Widow's bracelets are also equipped with the Widow's Kiss, which is a knockout tear gas that instantly knocks you out. Black Widow's bracelets also come with poison darts, which contain the Black Widow toxin. The dart will incapacitate you and make you delirious on contact. And Black Widow also has muscle relaxant darts, which renders the target's muscle completely useless for several hours. And Black Widow's darts can also pierce and pulverize objects. Black Widow comes equipped with her Widow's Line, which is a 100 long foot hook that she uses in many situations for offense or defensive measures. The Widow's line can withstand the weight of over 500 pounds, and Black Widow can use her Widow's line to ensnare her foes and restrain them or hook onto people and objects. The Widow's line has suction cups to get across buildings. The Widow's line can restrain up to 3 men. The Widow's line has been used to intercept a grenade, and Black Widow can fire her Widow's line and lace it around your neck from a distance. And Black Widow has used her Widow's line to choke her opponents out. Black Widow is very creative with her Widow's line, as inside enclosed spaces, Black Widow can use her Widow's line as a tripwire to trip up an unsuspecting foe, which leaves them wide open. Black Widow has demonstrated to disarm multiple armed men with her Widow's line, and the Widow's line also has a hook at the end, which Black Widow can lace around her foe's arm and lace the other end onto a billboard to BFR her foe. And Black Widow wears her signature costume called the Widow's Weed. Black Widow's costume is made of Kevlar-like substance to provide her maximum protection. The costume's fingers and feet contain small microscopic suction cups, which allows Black Widow to stick onto any surface. Black Widow's gloves are armored, giving her protection from sharp weapons. Black Widow wears anti-grav boots, which allow her to run up walls. Black Widow's costume is insulated to keep her warm. Now, for Black Widow's other standard equipment, Black Widow is equipped with handguns. Black Widow also carries electro burst ammo, which stuns and incapacitates her foes. And Black Widow is also equipped with knives. On certain occasions, if Black Widow has prep time, or if she's in a situation or an environment where there are other firearms available to be used, she will definitely resort to using them, such as assault rifles, sniper rifles, grenades, shotguns, you name it. So she's definitely no stranger to using any firearm in combat. Black Widow also carries a silencer that barely makes a whisper, and Black Widow also carries explosives in her belt and has used explosives to destroy a sentinel and a group of monsters. Black Widow also carries smoke grenades too. Now, let's talk about Black Widow's skill and accuracy. Black Widow beats 100 trained soldiers. It's also been noted in a guidebook that Black Widow is a master at several martial arts such as karate, judo, aikido, sabe, various styles of kung fu, boxing, and combat gymnastics. Black Widow was trained by Wolverine at a young age, and Wolverine compliments Black Widow. Black Widow is known for her consistent dirty tactics. Black Widow even teaches young students to resort to dirty tactics such as targeting the eyes, throat, and genitals against larger and difficult and challenging opponents. Black Widow demonstrates these tactics such as stabbing Imus in his balls and kicks a bulletproof man in the balls. So she will use dirty tactics against more powerful and beefy opponents. So she will definitely resort to targeting vulnerable areas. She's also been able to swap hands with Taskmaster, who's pretty much mastered every fighting style in the world, and Black Widow has fought the Punisher on a few occasions and has demonstrated to outskill him. This same Punisher can contend with a suppressed Taskmaster who went at it for a long time. And another impressive feat, Black Widow has gone toe to toe, and she also drew against Elektra. She's also very skilled. Now onto accuracy and some noteworthy showings. Black Widow's accuracy is so acute that she can accurately determine the range, the wind, the distance, and miles of how far away her target is, as she can snipe from 3 meters away. This was demonstrated by Rogue when Black Widow kissed Rogue, and Rogue took Black Widow's powers and basically took her memories and her skills and all her abilities in order to snipe for her, which is how we are able to identify the feats and the demonstrations that Black Widow can also perform. Bullseye complements Black Widow's accuracy. Bullseye also couldn't see her after she snipes his card pretty accurately, which is very impressive. Black Widow skillfully fires her Widow's Bite to accurately hit Punisher and mess up his trajectory and blind him while he was using his scope. Black Widow has been able to accurately snipe away grenades thrown at her with her Widow's Bite, and Black Widow will use weapon improvisation and use any objects around her to get the upper hand in a fight. Black Widow is skilled enough to reload one-handed. Black Widow also has instinctive reaction. Black Widow can fight on instincts even when her memories are erased, and Black Widow can fight without thinking. Black Widow can read your intentions and expressions. Black Widow notes she finds it easier fighting groups of people as there is no coordination as they fight very clumsy. Black Widow has some pretty impressive endurance, resistance, and stamina feats. Black Widow undergoes a 2-hour training routine that is so rigorous that even the likes of Captain America would basically get overtaxed by performing such a training regime. Black Widow took a serum which increases her lifespan. She also has type 3 immortality. Black Widow is engineered to heal 4 to 5 times more faster than a normal human. She also ages slower and hardly gets sick and can withstand harsh environments. Black Widow has also developed a resistance to poison. Black Widow resists psychic torture from a machine and was unbroken. Black Widow has resistance to mind-altering drugs, and Black Widow can debunk phantasmas illusions, which Black Widow notes is more real than reality itself. And Black Widow has some pretty crazy endurance feats, such as being able to keep fighting despite being injured. Like, even as a child, she has great pain tolerance, so she can fight while getting stabbed. She can fight with, like, you know, some bullet holes in her. She'll keep trucking, she'll keep going. And Black Widow's arm gets crushed by a sentinel and she no-sells it afterwards. Black Widow's pain tolerance and willpower even impresses even the likes of an AIM scientist when she was going through some torture. And Black Widow is conscious while undergoing surgery and doesn't go into shock and bears the pain. And Black Widow also eats a punch from Moonstone, which is very impressive because Moonstone is a Herald tier character and she took that pretty nicely. And Black Widow was also able to still keep fighting after some armed goons poisoned her on a cellular level when she stepped on some poison spikes, and she was still able to keep trucking. So that's going to round up both combatants. I'm going to go ahead and talk about who would win more often than not in an equal stats situation, Z Viper or Black Widow. So looking at both these combatants thoroughly, looking at their equipment, their gear, looking at the skills and other attributes that they bring to the table, it could go either way honestly, so it depends on how the fight turns out. So I think for Z Viper, her best win con is her gadgets. I think that if it did come down to skill, I do lean a little bit more so with Black Widow. She has more skill feats, more skill under her belt. She's more versatile with her skill. She's gone up against masters of martial arts. She's gone up against Taskmaster. She's gone up against other characters too, and she also possesses pretty good skill feats of her own. So I do think that she would be able to hold her own in a skill fight with Z Viper and probably come out on top more often than not. I think from a distance, if the fight was like ranged, like 20 meters, standard battle assumptions, I think if Z Viper performs the seismic hammer, literally was able to like blow up a base, it literally blew up tanks as well, the nasty area of effect, I think that's going to be enough to literally one shot Black Widow. I really don't see what Black Widow could do if she gets tagged by that, so I think that's probably a really strong win con. But I do think that with Black Widow, she's pretty agile, she's pretty quick as well. Obviously this is equal stats, but more so with her maneuverability and her acrobatics. She also has instinctive reaction. She also has performed this as well, so she could instinctively react or listen to the sounds of the seismic blast, the seismic wave, if Z Viper chooses to shoot it through the ground towards her, or if she performs a nasty area of effect. Black Widow would be able to avoid it. Black Widow isn't necessarily out of the game in terms of range. She has her own gadgets too, so she does have her explosives, so she could throw those too, especially if she gets in a little bit closer. She's able to get past, like, at least getting close for at least like 10 meters. Like, she could get within the range of activating her Widow's Bite, which I believe can reach around 6 to 7 meters. So if she gets in a little bit closer, I think that's probably a best situation she could be put in. I definitely think that if her Widow's Bite tags Z Viper, I think that's a GG. Like, there's nothing Z Viper can do that literally affects your nervous system, and it literally put a guy out for about a month when he got tagged by the Widow's Bite. So I think that if Z Viper tries to like counteract it, so let's say she tries to use her own lightning from her gloves to counteract Widow's Bite, which would be pretty much a bad idea to do, or if she tried to deflect it. We've seen with the Punisher got blinded when he tried to intercept the Widow's Bite. So if the Widow's Bite gets intercepted, it will cause like a flash, and which will blind Z Viper, which would be the perfect opening for Black Widow to get in close and just one shot. So it just depends on your interpretation of how you think the fight would go down. I think this fight's pretty close, and depending on circumstances and the situation, Z Viper could take victory, Black Widow could also take victory. But in my opinion, I think Black Widow would probably edge out a little more. I'd say with maybe high mid, maybe high difficulty, because of the keep out weapons with the seismic wave. The seismic wave is a big problem. The other gadgets won't be too much of a big issue. I think Black Widow would be able to hold her own against that. Black Widow has other tools at her disposal too, like her darts and other things. But I do think that if it did come down to that situation, Z Viper could take victory, but it just depends on interpretation. But thank you guys for watching, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been real.